You know, to really hear reality, we must first stop talking to ourselves about it. Because if I'm forever whispering inside my head, rehearsing tomorrow's troubles or counting yesterday's regrets, I am like a man at a symphony hall, but instead of listening to the orchestra, I've brought along a brass band in my skull, and the music of the world, the music of what is, cannot be heard over the noise of my own commentary. So the very first thing I should like us to do is pause. Not the grim silence of memorial services, not that tight, frowning kind of seriousness. No, no, no. I mean a silence that breathes, a silence that fills the room, a silence that listens. And in that silence, if you dare to let it in, reality is not an idea, not a word, not even a thought. It is this. But of course, we don't often live in this. We live in pictures, in numbers, in concepts. We live in symbols. Let us begin with something very down to earth. Money. Money is perhaps the clearest example of how we mistake the map for the territory, the symbol for the real thing. Because money, as I often say, is nothing more than a measure. It is a way of accounting for wealth, just as inches measure length or grams measure weight. It is useful, no doubt, but here is the funny thing. We have hypnotized ourselves into believing that money itself is wealth. Now imagine, just for a moment, that you are stranded on a desert island. Your wallet is bulging. Your bank account is flush with millions. You even have, by some stroke of luck, several suitcases filled with dollar bills. What good is it to you? Can you fry it and eat it for dinner? Can you build a hut out of it? Or warm yourself on a cold night? Not in the least. What you need are coconuts, fresh water, shelter, perhaps the companionship of another human being. Those things are real wealth. Money, in such a case, is about as useful as a menu in a famine. You see, the menu is not the meal. It may be beautifully printed, gold lettering, elegant calligraphy, but you cannot eat the paper. It only points to the dinner. Yet, we live in a society where many people would rather collect menus than taste food. We stack up the symbols, forgetting entirely the reality to which they refer. This is what I call a psychological perversion, a sort of madness. And here's another curious twist. Even when you do pursue the real pleasures that money can buy, houses, cars, holidays, banquets, you quickly discover there is a limit. You cannot, after all, drive 5 cars at once. You cannot eat 12 roasts of beef at a single meal. You cannot sleep in 6 beds simultaneously. There is a natural boundary to pleasure. And so, chasing after more and more symbols of it becomes absurd. You see, wealth and pleasure diminish as you attempt to hoard them. A man who has but one good loaf of bread is rich if he is hungry. A man with 100 loaves rotting in the sun is a fool. And yet, strangely enough, we feel compelled to collect more menus, more symbols, more dollar bills, as though stacking them high will feed our hunger. You see, this is the confusion of symbols for reality. Now, if I may push this just a little further, when we live for money rather than for life, it is as though we have mistaken the shadow for the substance. Consider, when you walk in the sunlight, your body casts a shadow. And suppose you became fascinated with it, spending all your days trying to fatten the shadow, to lengthen it, to collect it, all the while neglecting the body that makes it possible. Money is the shadow of real wealth. Pleasure, too, in a certain sense, is the shadow of joy. And so long as we chase the shadows, we will never touch the living reality that casts them. You see, this confusion leads us into a peculiar state. We begin to think that our security lies not in life itself, but in the stacks of paper, the digits on screens, the tokens and tallies. We put faith in the menu while starving at the table. And what happens when the system wobbles? When inflation rises, when banks fail, when numbers vanish, we panic because our faith was in the shadow. But the coconut tree does not vanish with the stock market crash. The sun does not dim because Wall Street stumbles. The laughter of children, the warmth of a friend's hand, the breath in your lungs, these are not subject to the fluctuations of currency. So then money, pleasure, these are but the beginning, the first layer of illusion. But you see, behind this there is an even deeper confusion. For if money is a symbol mistaken for reality, so too is the very idea you have of yourself. And here we come to a more subtle and dangerous illusion, the illusion of the ego. Now don't worry, we'll get to that. But let us first take a breath and let the absurdity of this money game settle. Because only when you see clearly how easily the mind chases shadows, can you begin to question the shadow you call I. Now, if mistaking money for wealth is a sort of external illusion, there is another one, much more intimate, much more slippery. And this illusion lives right at the center of your chest, or rather, in the story you tell about what's in your chest. It is the illusion of me, the illusion of the self. You see, each of us walks about as though wrapped in a mask. We do not live as the raw, trembling, breathing organism, the pulsing miracle of nerves and blood and breath. No, we live as the picture of ourselves. That picture is called the ego. And the ego, quite simply, is a concept, a story, a bundle of memories and labels. Here is who I am, we say. I'm John, I'm Susan, I'm a lawyer, I'm shy, I'm clever, I'm unlucky, I'm the one who always. But notice, these are not living realities. They are words, they are symbols, and we mistake the label for the thing. Just as we mistook money for wealth, we mistake the word me for the living miracle that is here right now. Think of it. When you were born, you did not know you were you. You had no name. You simply were. The universe opened its eyes, and there you were, wiggling, crying, feeling warmth and cold, without a single word to divide yourself from the world. Then, slowly, voices gathered around you. They said, you are Sarah, you are David, you are a good boy, a clever girl, a disappointment, a success. And little by little, you came to believe that who you are is what they told you. And so most of us carry our lives like a heavy suitcase, filled with labels we never packed ourselves. We are praised, and the ego inflates. We are criticized, and the ego collapses. Like a puppet on strings, we dance according to the stories that surround us. But the living organism underneath, the one breathing, sensing being, is entirely untouched by these words. Now this illusion has consequences. For one of the most powerful fears we suffer is the fear of death. But look closely, what is it that is afraid of dying? It is not your heart, nor your lungs, nor your skin. It is the idea of yourself, the character in the story. I once spoke with a woman, trembling at the thought of death. And when we probed deeper, what emerged was not a fear of ending, but a fear of reputation. She was afraid of what others would say. Poor old so-and-so, they'll whisper, she couldn't last it through. And you see, this reveals something profound. We are less afraid of not existing, and more afraid of not existing in other people's stories. Death, to the ego, is not the loss of life. It is the loss of gossip, the silence of one's narrative. Now here's the trickiest part. Who you think you are is entirely dependent on who people have told you are. Try it. Close your eyes and imagine yourself without the commentary of friends, parents, teachers, colleagues. Remove the reflections. Who remains? Like a mirror, with nothing to reflect, the ego flickers and vanishes. And suddenly you realize what you've been clinging to is not you but a reflection, an echo of other people's voices. But you see, the living organism, this breathing, seeing, feeling mystery, is not a story. It is not a name. It is not good or bad. It is as free as a tree swaying in the wind, as unlabeled as a wave breaking on the shore. You are not the character you play. You are the stage on which the play unfolds. But we have grown so enchanted with the costume that we have forgotten the actor beneath. Think of the absurdity. We spend enormous amounts of energy polishing this ego, presenting it, defending it, decorating it, as though we were shining the armor of a knight. But the knight himself, our living being, is left unfed. We clothe the mask while the body shivers. We paint the puppet while the strings tangle. This is why life so often feels hollow, because we are serving the story, not the being. Now then, if money is a symbol mistaken for wealth, and the ego is a story mistaken for the self, there is still another illusion, perhaps the most subtle of all. It is the illusion of time, the idea that the real is always elsewhere in the past, that is gone, or in the future, that never arrives. If there is any illusion more persuasive than money or ego, it is the illusion of time. For we are, almost all of us, in a mad race against something that does not even exist. Look at your watch. There is that tiny hairline mark, which we call the present moment. A sliver so thin, so narrow, that it seems hardly to exist at all. We say the present is just the point at which the future turns into the past. But that makes the now sound like a knife edge, a mere mathematical instant, too small to live in. And so we hurry, always hurry, because this fragile little now doesn't feel like home. It feels like a hallway between what was and what will be. And yet, here is the joke. This tiny, fleeting now is the only thing that has ever existed. The past is a memory, the future is an imagination, and reality is neither memory nor imagination. Reality is this. Have you noticed how people constantly sigh, "I've no time, I've no time"? We fill our schedules, race our clocks, as though life were a contest of efficiency. We measure our worth by how many appointments we keep, how quickly we can get from breakfast to board meeting to bed. But to say, "I have no time," is like standing in the ocean and saying, "I have no water." Time is not something you lack. Time is what you are. You don't stand in time. You are the present unfolding itself. But because we see the present as a vanishing point, a tick on a clock face, we miss it altogether. We are always on the way and never here. Now let me give you an image. Think of a great ship moving steadily across the sea. Behind it spreads the wake, rippling out in widening patterns. Now ordinarily, we imagine that the wake is what propels the ship. We say, "My past made me who I am. My history drives me forward." But this is nonsense. The wake does not move the ship. The ship makes the wake. So too with life. It is not the past pushing you into the present. It is the present creating the past, as effortlessly as a ship leaves ripples behind it. Yet we tell stories of how the past shackles us, how our childhood wounds or our parents' mistakes keep us trapped. We point backward to explain why we cannot move forward. It is a marvelous trick of the mind, but no more real than claiming the tail wags the dog. And because of this illusion, we are always passing the buck. You see it in the oldest stories. Adam blames Eve. Eve blames the serpent. The serpent says nothing. And so it goes. Parents blame their parents. Nations blame history. Each person finds a chain of causes stretching back endlessly until nobody takes responsibility for what is happening right now. But here is the simple truth. Creation does not begin back there. It begins here in this very instant. And then, of course, there is the obsession with the other side of the timeline, the future. We save for it, work for it, sacrifice the present to it, as though life will finally begin one day. Children do it. "I can't wait until I grow up." Adults do it. "I can't wait until I retire." And the retired sigh, "I wish I were young again." We live forever postponing the feast, like diners waiting for a better menu that never arrives. But when the future finally comes, it comes as now. And if you have not learned to live in now, you will not live then either. You'll still be postponing. Here is the paradox. We treat time as a possession, something we can have, spend, waste, or lose. But time is not a commodity. It is not coins in a purse. It is the very substance of being. When you say, "I don't have enough time," it is like saying, "I don't have enough existence." But you do. You always do. Because there is never any moment other than this one. And so you see, money, ego, and time are all of a kind. They are maps mistaken for territory, shadows mistaken for substance, illusions mistaken for truth. But what happens? What happens when you drop them? When you set aside the counting, the story, the clock, you discover something astonishing. That reality, unmeasured and unnamed, is abundant beyond all reckoning. That real pleasure, real life, real being happens only here. And this is where we must go next, into the liberation of the present moment, into the shocking simplicity of now. And that, my friends, is where all the treasure has been hiding all along. Now, after all this wandering through illusions, the illusions of money, the illusions of ego, the illusions of time, we find ourselves standing here at the edge of something so simple, so obvious, that it slips through the cracks of our thinking. You see, reality is not something you can think about. It is not a definition in a book, not a philosophy, not a doctrine, not even a belief. Reality is not what you say it is. Reality is what is. And when you stop chasing symbols, when you let the stories, the names, the clocks fall silent for a moment, there it is. The sound of the breeze through the leaves, the warmth of your breath rising and falling, the shimmer of light on the floor, all so utterly ordinary that we overlook it in the hunt for something extraordinary. But this is the extraordinary. The miracle is not hidden in the clouds. It is here in your tea, in the sound of a passing bird, in the simple awareness that you are. And notice something curious. The pleasures you have been chasing, those fleeting tastes of joy, are only ever found in this present. Think of laughter. Have you ever laughed tomorrow? Have you ever truly savored yesterday's meal again? No. Every joy, every kiss, every note of music occurs only here. Not in the story of your life, not in the accounts of your bank, not in the projections of your plans, but in the immediacy of this moment. And the more you grasp for it, the more it runs. For real pleasure comes only when you stop clutching and let the river carry itself. We speak so much about the future as though it were the prize to be earned, the gift to be unwrapped one day. But I say it is far better to have a present than a future, because the future never comes as future. It comes as now. And if you cannot receive now as a gift, you will never open the box, no matter how many birthdays you count. So look around you. This is it. This is the banquet. And the table is set with what is, not with what you imagine should be. And here lies the final paradox. All along, you have been seeking outside yourself, in wealth, in identity, in time. But the very source of creation, the very mystery you call life, is not elsewhere. It is you. You are not a separate stranger dropped into the world. You are the world, looking at itself from a billion different eyes, listening to itself through a billion different ears, breathing itself in countless lungs. In Hindu mythology, they say we are all God playing hide and seek with himself, the one reality, pretending to be many, so convincingly that it even forgets the game. But every so often, perhaps now the mask slips, and you catch a glimpse. You are not merely the mask called me. You are the whole play. You are the dancer and the dance, the singer and the song, the wave and the sea. So put down the menu. Stop counting the coins. Stop polishing the mask. Stop chasing the tick of the clock. And taste. Taste the meal of life while it is hot and before it vanishes. For the miracle is always now. And you, dear listener, are not apart from it. You are it. God in disguise, hiding in plain sight, behind your very eyes. So here is the invitation. Live not for money, not for reputation, not for tomorrow. Live for the shimmering immediacy of what already is. For here, in the quiet clarity of the present moment, all illusions dissolve, and reality unspoken, unsymbolized, unmeasured, is free.